What's up? What's up?
Sorry.
Hey, you can hear me, right?
Yep. Can you hear me?
What's, yeah, I can hear you. Hold on. Let me get my,
All right.
let me finish the outfit.
All
Hold
right.
on. I feel like I gotta make an entrance.
Wow.
You can hear me?
Hmm. Wait, say
Hey,
something? All right.
hey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got my mic hooked up. Hold on. Make
Oh,
sure it didn't fall off. It's right here. Hopefully you can still hear me. But yeah. What's up, man?
all right.
Good.
How are you?
I'm all right. I'm all right. Uh, another mission, another day, another mission. That's what I like to say.
That's good. I like that.
Hey,
Just starting off, I got like a few like introduction questions. So like to start, for my project, how would you like to be introduced? Like whether
okay.
personally or just in general, like what's your go-to introduction?
Uh, Really, I mean, you keep it simple for real, for real. Most people know me as Kid Jimmy,
Right.
from my YouTube channel, from my music, because I'm an artist as well. Also, people know me now as Bobby Armstrong,
Mm.
and that's all other thing I can get into. But yeah, that's it. Just to keep it simple, I'm an artist. My name is Kid Jimmy,
Mhm.
aka Bobby Armstrong. Yep,
All right.
yeah.
Cool. So this one's kind of like a way of asking how old you are, but also like what generation do you consider yourself to be from? Like when it comes to the internet or music and culture growing up, what was that like for you?
So generation wise, honestly, I just keep it real. I feel like I consider myself a millennial. I was born, I'm a proud 90s baby, I'll admit it, you know what I'm saying? Like I feel like I
Yeah.
was born around the best time, music, at least with hip hop and R&B, or you can even say like with, grunge and everything. But yeah, I'm proud to rep that. Like I consider myself yeah, millennial, but I got a lot of siblings, so that are Gen Z or whatever. So, I'll be tapped in. So
Right.
don't get me wrong.
And then this is a question I'm curious about. So, you play the guitar, you produce, you record all this music. Did you go to school for any of this? How did you learn a lot of your musical skills?
So basically, I'm gonna try to keep it short. So after I graduated high school, I went to the Art Institute of Washington, and that's here
Okay.
in Arlington, Virginia. And I went there for audio engineering. That's where I first went there for. And that's where I got my introduction into production. So I think I first got into Pro Tools. They gave me a mic and everything. So I first learned the
Yeah.
basics of how to set up and stuff like that. From there, I started interning as well at in Bethesda at the studio called Indigo Studio. Shout out to them. Shout out to EMAD. Yeah, and they also taught me how to engineer because they were doing sessions. This is like actual studio or was a studio. So yeah, they taught me how to do engineering and all that, record myself, record other artists, and yeah, just pretty much do that whole thing. I did drop out. It was the first year. I was only there for a year. I ended up going on tour because I was in a band at the time and all that. Like I said, that's a whole nother story. But yeah, just to keep it short, that's how I started production. And that was before the YouTube channel. Well, I started a YouTube channel
Right.
then because I had it since like 2010. But
Mhm.
I was just doing like just right when I got instrumentals. Like so that's when I started with the instrumentals,
Yeah.
which was like
Yeah.
turned into a
Right.
big thing. But yeah, just to keep it short, that's kind of how I started education wise, like on paper. Like I had some school, I had some college, but really a lot of it I learned like kind of on my own over time, if I'm being real.
So like going off of that, you said you had a band. So how would you describe your musical career? Like when did you start and where are you at now and like the process of getting there?
So basically, it started back, man. I could say high school. So high school, before I was even making beats, I was just playing guitar. That's when I started learning
Yeah.
guitar. That's how I got my name. So if you don't know how I got my name in high school, I dressed up as Jimi Hendrix. That's why
Okay.
I got the
Yeah.
homie behind me,
I
big
see the
brother.
poster. Mhm. Yep.
But yes, I dressed up as Jimi Hendrix like he did in Woodstock. And then
Right.
everybody ever since then was like, oh, that's Jimmy, that's Jimmy. That's kind of how I got with the name. But yeah, back then I was just like playing guitar. I was in bands, stuff like that. I was really kind of into rock, stuff like that. I love Fall Out Boy, Paramore, you know what I'm saying? I'm an emo kid, you know what I'm saying? I'm proud to say
Yeah.
that. Not phase mom. But yeah, I was pretty much just doing that, playing music. I was in bands. And then my band at the time when I was in college, we ended up going on tour. Shout out to Cliche. That's what we were. So we ended up going on the road. It was just from here, DC to like Boston. We hit a couple places in Rhode Island and Connecticut. But yeah, that's what kind of led me to like kind of leave because at the time I was kind of like I was like an artist, but I was kind of figuring it out. Like I was like, I want to produce, but like I want to be Paramore, bitch. You know what I'm saying? Like I still want to be
Yeah.
Paramore low key. So
Mhm.
that's kind of why I did that at the time. You know what I'm saying? And like, like I tell everybody, like if you're in school for whatever, like do if you're a lawyer, whatever, stay in school. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to promote dropping out, but
Mhm.
yeah, like that was just my decision at the time. But yeah,
It was
yeah,
an
like
opportunity.
yeah, basically.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I was an artist at the time. But when I was in that studio, like interning, and then I was like engineering. That's how I got my foot in producing. Because
Okay.
I think my homie, shout out to Emad, like he really my bro. Because he gave me like my first beat pack at the time. Now I'm remembering. And then like from there, I just started messing around with like FL Studio. I was using Pro Tools as well to make beats. But yeah, that's when I started getting my introduction into there. So I wouldn't like I don't know, like I wouldn't consider myself like a internet producer until like maybe like 2013 or whatever. But I
Okay.
was still recording like my band and stuff even before the beat. So I don't know, would that still be considered a producer? Like,
Pretty, yeah. Like, so when you were doing the music with the band, how are you putting that out? You were performing live, but you were trying to record too. Is that right?
yeah, basically, I was trying to do both. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, I'd be doing like shows with my band or whatever, and then on the side, I was interning like maybe once a week or whatever at this studio in Bethesda. So like I was kind of doing a little bit of oh, we were recording at the studio by the way, like the band.
Mhm.
That's kind of how I
Right.
like know everybody there. So that was like the introduction. Then yeah, he pulled me aside, shout out Eman, like, and he was like, "Yo, I need help in the studio. You want to shadow me?" And yeah, like I'll show you like how to use everything. And yeah, that's kind of how I like got into it basically. But yeah, I was doing both basically to answer the question, like a little bit of both. Still to this day, which is like yeah, which is funny, but yeah, yeah,
So since then and like currently now, do you do a lot? I assume you do most of the music from home, right? You have like a home studio set up and everything.
yeah. I got like a little set up here, like I got my KRKs or whatever. I don't know if you can see,
Okay, let's
but
see.
yeah, my
Okay,
little
yeah.
MIDI or
Mhm.
whatever. But at least right now, I'm tapped in with a studio here. Shout
Ooh,
out J
okay.
Rob. He's an engineer. And he engineers a lot of artists from the DC area. So when it comes to, because I still like, I'm still an artist. Like I make songs and stuff. So when it comes
Yeah,
to
right.
recording, and like mastering, I do that there. But like here, I do all my beats for the most part.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I'm like demo here or whatever, you know. But yeah, this is my own studio. Yeah,
Nice.
good.
So, being in the studio, are there any like lessons you learned from other engineers or producers or even recording people recording, what is being in the studio kind of taught you, would you say?
A lot of things. I guess like one, just like having that relationship with the artist, or just like that rapport. I don't know, like that vibe, whatever you want to call it. You can call it a lot of things, but like you realize how important it is when you're really in the studio with an artist. Like at least in the producer chair, like you really get to sit and get in their head or whatever. It's just like I don't know, like on some weird stuff. But yeah, like that was one of the lessons I learned, just like how to vibe with the artist, figure out what they want, like literally just like listen to like, oh, they trying to go this vibe, whatever. Okay, I got this guitar, maybe this will work or whatever, and try to work with them. Um, yeah, that just like seeing other artists just inspired me. Like I got to see other artists, and it inspired me as an artist, and just seeing my homie Emad, just engineer, because he was always a cool dude. He was cool to me, and just seeing his demeanor. He actually told me the reason why he reached out to me. He was like, "Yo, you're a cool dude. You was always cool when we were in the studio. Like I need somebody like that to just
Yeah.
keep the vibe or whatever." So
Mhm.
yeah, like I definitely learned that from him as well. And also, I gotta say, I started making beats there. Now I'm thinking about it. Technically, that's when I started making beats. Him, and shout out Isaac as well. They gave me my like first drum kit, and that's when I was
Okay.
really sitting there and like, and they were telling me, "Oh, you gotta use this." Oh, now I'm thinking of it. He showed me Atmosphere. He was like, "Yo, this is Atmosphere.
Hmm.
Yo, this is a plugin. Blah blah blah. Like,
Okay,
yo, you
yeah.
use this." And like, so yeah, that's when I really was like, "Oh, you could do a lot of this stuff off of just like plugins and stuff like that." So yeah, like they showed me a lot of, I guess, the introduction of like making beats,
Right.
and then yeah, just recording artists. Yeah, even the technicalities like setting up a mic, all that stuff. Yeah,
Right.
but yeah.
So, um, so they obviously helped you a lot, and then it also comes to like experimentation. I mean, I'm sure you listen to a lot of music. Would you
Yeah.
say that like, especially with the beat reproductions, how often were you trying to like recreate something professional sounding or like just explore a sound for yourself?
I was kind of doing both. I ain't gonna lie because at the end of the day, with the beat reproductions, the instrumentals, they're at the end of the day, they're not mine. Like I'm just remaking them at the end of the day. But
Right.
I'm also the another reason why I started doing them was because I was learning. Like I was like,
Right.
oh, like okay, with hip hop beats, they like these type of 808s or they like these type of snares or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So I was learning as I was remaking. It was kind of like reverse engineering or whatever.
Yeah.
But really, yes, I was putting them up on my YouTube. Like I was just throwing them up. And then I don't know if you know the original reason why I started was because I was making like freestyle videos for my guitar and I
With the
was
guitar,
like, yo, I
yeah.
need this instrumental. I can't find it. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make it. And so I made it and I
Mhm.
threw it on YouTube and it got like 20,000 views. I was like, okay. And so that's
Yeah.
kind of why I kept up with it. And obviously I kept it free. Everything's still free to this day. But yeah. Like I was kind of doing both, like experimenting on the side, like because I was learning. I was like, what if I try making my own beats or whatever? Basically, that's how I got into making my own beats. Because
Yeah.
obviously I couldn't sell those. Like even though those are
Mhm.
blowing up on YouTube, I got to that conflict because I mean, I don't know if you can see on my channel, I got millions of views. Like some of them
Oh
got like
yeah, I saw, yeah.
30 million. Yeah. It got to
Mhm.
that point. And that's why I was really like, yo, like I gotta be careful because I think I got a copyright strike or whatever at the time too.
True.
And I was
Yeah.
like, yo,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like UMG, whatever, they own these, whatever. And that, it is what it is. But I just need to start making my own stuff. Thankfully, I was making them for so many years. I was learning how to make beats in the process. So I was like, oh, what if I start making Drake type beats or whatever? And then thankfully
Yeah.
at the time, I think I dropped my first like original beat. It was called Fantasy. I'll never forget. And I think that shit got 50,000 views. Like, yeah.
Wow.
And then that kind of told me, I was like, all right, I think we're here. I think I need to just start dropping original beats. Cause yeah, even though the instrumentals were blowing up, like really blowing up,
Sure, yeah.
yeah, I had to watch out for, copyright and you know what I'm saying? Cause I didn't own these songs. So yeah,
And then like
I guess.
selling beats, you said, like in that time, where were you selling the beats? What were the websites like? And what was that experience kind of like?
So that was around that time, literally around that time where like I had to make that decision. Like, all right, I need to like really hone in on making original beats. I started looking into like SoundClick, um, Flash Store. Right now, I'm using Airbit. I think it was called something else at the time. But I was looking into all those, and I think I used to have a SoundClick. I might, if you look it up, I might still have a SoundClick low
Mhm.
key. But yeah, I started looking into that, and then thankfully, like I said, at the time, I was getting enough views from the instrumentals, traffic that I was like getting traffic on my website. So I was getting like a couple sales. So yeah, like thankfully that worked out. It was one of those moments where I guess the stars line or whatever. And yeah, like it was just on from there. Like and to this day, you know what I'm saying? Like well, at least with the beat.
So that being said, like that kind of time period when people were looking for specifically type beats, I'm sure like you got
Yeah.
probably a lot of people who reached out to you trying to record on that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
How did
yeah.
how does like selling them work? If you could explain that.
Like selling the beats. Oh, basically so it's
Yeah.
just on a flash store. And like yeah, like basically it does everything for you. So like when somebody goes to the link on YouTube and buys the beat or whatever, it's leased. And I can explain that. There's the whole leasing system. So they can
Yeah.
like lease a beat for like 25 or whatever, or they can get like the track out for 50 and that's like you get everything. That's like the drums, the bass, everything. Or you
Yeah.
could buy the exclusive rights and the exclusive rights that can vary on like the price or whatever. But yeah, I have that set up on my site. That's how most producers. That's kind of was like the formula or whatever for most producers online. So that yeah, I follow the same thing. And then yeah, the Flash Store it does everything automatic delivery. I think at the time I had to do a couple of them manual. Thankfully, like my email's
Mm.
hooked up, so I can
Yeah.
manually send. I can keep in touch with clients or whatever. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's how I did it. Like over time, just yeah. And thankfully, I built clients over the years. Even to this day that I still work with. So I'm
Yeah.
thankful for that.
Mhm. So, during this time where everything was more digital centric, do you think, like, going into the future, what do you see the future of, producing and especially sharing music on the internet? What do you see in the next 10 years, per se?
That's a good question, especially with I hate to bring it up, but AI, the elephant in the room.
Right.
Yeah. I still think, in my opinion, when it comes to AI, originality is never gonna. We're human, you know what I'm saying? At the end of
Right.
the day, humans, we have emotions, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like, you know, AI, I hate to say it, it's never gonna beat that. Like, there's just something about us channeling that into the music. We're always gonna. There's gonna, you know, what I'm saying imitation is really good, and it's been getting scary good, and I'll give it
Yeah.
that. And don't get me wrong, and I'll say it like, I don't, be mad at anybody who uses it or whatever. Like, you can use it as a tool. It's just like keeping that
Sure.
originality in it. And I think as long as we have that originality as a producer from here on out, we'll be fine, even with the imitations, whatever. Because as a producer, you create a sound over time. I do feel like to this day, thankfully, I do have a quote unquote somewhat of a sound. Like, I play guitar, so I feel like that's
Yeah.
part of my signature. So yeah, I feel like as a producer, if you kind of hone in a sound, or if you pair up with an artist and y'all go together, like, Drake and 40 or whatever, like, I think you'll be good because, Drake or whatever, they're not gonna go to AI all the time. They're calling, if they need a
No.
hit, they're calling 40 whatever. At the end of the day, they're calling Pharrell or whoever, Timberland, because they know, they're gonna make hits. So as long as you got that, and you shouldn't be discouraged by the AI. I'm not. You know what I'm saying? I know. I mean,
Yeah.
they're not dressed up as a spacesuit.
Right.
So
You have your branding, you have your image,
yeah,
it's good. And you do that
exactly,
yourself, you don't need to rely on someone else to make it for you.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You could do it yourself as long as you stay original. And like I said, like, just use it in moderation if you do, because I use it for videos and stuff like that. I'm not gonna
Sure.
lie, I can't shoot in space right now.
Yeah, no.
So yeah, like, as long as you keep that originality and you keep that curation, that human curation, that human emotion, because that's why I feel like that's where the core is, that keeping that core. Because at the end of the day, producing music is expression. Yeah, it's art. So as long as that stays in the core, we good. Yeah.
Exactly. These next few questions I have are kind of like for very specific things in my project. So the project, like, there's a portion that's about like from the mixtape era to SoundCloud in terms
Mhm.
of rap and hip hop culture.
Yeah.
So, from that time period, what was like the significance and of having an actual mixtape out? Like compared to
Um,
an album, like what was the big difference?
um, this might show my age, but yeah, because it's one of those, like, you had to be there because it was definitely a
Yeah.
moment because social media wasn't really what it was now, and the streets were still a thing. Like, CDs, all that was still a thing. But yeah, like, the blogs and everything were just blowing up at the time. So yeah, like, thankfully we had like DatPiff. Thank God for DatPiff because DatPiff got me off, not even as a producer, but as an artist too, because I don't know if y'all know, I put a couple of my mixtapes on DatPiff,
Oh yeah,
and that's
really?
how they initially blew up. It was called Dream On and Just Imagine, and yeah, that's how I got started, like, off with my whole art. I was like, okay, I know where to go now. But yeah, yeah, that was like the era, that live mixtapes. Not only me, but like, you saw a lot of indie artists, Young Thug. Like, a
Yeah,
lot of people don't know Young Thug was on there like a long time ago. Like,
right.
a lot of artists like blew up on there like over time. So it was like the plug. It was the SoundCloud before SoundCloud, basically. Like, it was
Mhm.
the go-to if you're an underground artist and you're trying to spread your music online. So yeah, it was definitely an error because a lot of artists, because that became a thing. Like, people were treating mixtapes like albums. Like, that thing was, people remember So Far Gone and stuff like that. That was that time. Like, Wiz Khalifa, a lot of like J Cole with Friday Night Lights. That was
Yeah.
a lot of that time. I think they were throwing a lot of that stuff on DatPiff because at the time they couldn't drop stuff with their labels, so they had to throw stuff online as well. So like that, like, part of what blossomed, I feel like. So yeah, it was definitely like an era. It was like you had to be there because it's not what it is now. It is what it is. We're a different chapter. But yeah, it was one of those. Yeah, you had to be there.
And then SoundCloud, forgive me if I'm wrong, but that came around during the exact same time, or like towards the end of when the DatPiff era was.
Yeah, it was around
So
that time. Yeah, around like maybe 2015, 2016-ish. Because yeah, I hate to say I was sad because I was looking up. I went to find my mixtapes one day and it was gone. I saw the message. Yeah, I had a little teardrop. I was like, no. But
yeah.
yeah, it was around that time. That was when SoundCloud, because 2015, 2016, once like Uzi and everything, it was over. Like, from there, like,
Yeah.
everybody, because it just shifted at that point. But yeah.
And then the shift kind of went to the streaming platforms. People went to actually distributing their music and all that.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
So,
Yep.
um, okay, let me go back to this. Hold on.
You're good.
So do you think like in that era, was it harder to like stand out because there were so many people, or was it just easier to enter and like make a name for yourself no matter what?
I feel like yes and no. Like no, because it wasn't as oversaturated as you could probably argue nowadays.
True.
Um, so it wasn't as oversaturated. So like they had a top 10. Like I'm trying to think like on their live mixtapes or dat piffs where like artists would get attention from that. So I feel like you had more of a chance throwing your mixtape, even if you were like an underground artist. But yeah, I feel like it was easy, but it wasn't still because at the time you still needed labels. I would say we were still like pre-streaming, so like I think once the streaming hit, it was just like the labels couldn't keep up. So it's like anybody could just do whatever, TuneCore, whatever. But like before then, you still people were still dropping mixtapes, hoping to be signed. If that makes sense. Like yeah, this wasn't their album, this wasn't their debut. Like they're like, nah, this is the warm up or whatever. Like I think that's what Cole was on. Like like this is getting y'all heated up. So like that was kind of the wave. So I do feel like it was like yes and no. Like you still kind of had to like be the best, jump out there. But in a way, that's what sharpened everybody's blades. Like, yo, I really got to make something different or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
treat this like an album. Uh, so yeah, yeah, that's my answer. My bad. Yeah, yes and no.
True. No, I get that. That's fair to think about. And then also at the same time you have blogs. What were
Yeah.
like the major blogs of the time, and how do you think that really like affected when it came to both advertising and like getting a name out there?
Um, that was definitely a big thing because I feel like that's how a lot of people like Mac Miller, shout out to him, the legend, Wiz Khalifa. I'm trying to think of other people who are big in the blogs. But yeah, like they were really utilizing that. It seemed like you could do submissions. I got thankfully featured on a couple of blogs then too. Because I dropped a album Shine On back then. And I was trying to, because that was the wave. That was like, all right, you drop an album and then like you look for whatever blogs. Today that would be playlists. But yeah, like that was the
Yeah.
way back then. Like because yeah, that's how the internet was set up. Like I said, it was pre-streaming, so I feel like people were still looking at blogs. It was pre like social media. So people, like I said, people still had the attention span. I hate to say it, to like
Yeah,
look at a page and like yeah, like nowadays that's why it is what it is.
right. And then where was I gonna go? Um, so you have the blogs at the same time, and you compared it to like playlisting now, you
Yeah,
said?
yeah, like with the like Spotify playlisting and stuff like that. Because I feel like that's kind of the wave now. I actually got a friend, shout out Dave. He got featured in a few playlists and stuff like that, and a lot of them, a lot of his lo-fi beats and stuff, because that's what he was doing. Blew up at
Yeah.
the time. I think this was like 2022, 2023 or whatever. But yeah, yeah. So yeah, he was trying to get me into it. He was like, "Yo, you got to get into it." Like, yo, so I was like, all right, I'll look into it. And then found out that like that's the way. Like even when you drop a song, whatever, if you get featured on a playlist, like it'll be like night and day. Like you wake up and it's like you got a million streams now. Like so, yeah. I feel like that's the wave now. At least I'm no expert, so fill me in if you know anything else. But yeah, like I feel like that's the wave.
So yeah, that's something that I think is interesting, and I just wanted to know your opinion on it, is like a lot of these sounds and like the signature styles of, whatever subgenre it may be, if they
Yeah.
originate in such like specific areas of the country, but then
Hmm.
like the internet kind of made it more accessible for people all over the world to really get a
Yeah.
grasp on it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree, and that's one of the beautiful things of the internet. Like people have blown up, had audiences blow up in like UK and living here, and thankfully they have like whole careers and can like go fly. Yeah, that's just the beauty of the internet. Even to nowadays, if I don't know if you know the story about Brent Faiyaz, who's an artist from this area. He's amazing. Like that's
Yeah.
how he's an independent artist. That's how what he does. He uses like Spotify analytics and be like, oh, I'm blowing up in Africa. I'll do a show here, do a show here. And that's how he maps out. And it's like, that's how you stay in touch with your fans and stuff. So I feel like when everything is going right, like that's the right way to do it. Like at least independently.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you see a lot more independent artists and people that are able to like do not everything on their own, but a lot of the work. And I'm sure you yourself, when it comes to how you choose to do what you do next, you have these
Yeah,
tools thanks to the internet now, right?
yeah, thankfully, yeah, yeah, because back then, like it was a little harder. Like in the blog era, you still needed like I hate to say it, like maybe a label, whatever. If you were trying, like, if your
Mhm.
expectation, you're trying to be at a Cole or Jay-Z level or whatever, like you
Yeah.
at some point needed that. It was a ceiling to some point. Nowadays, like with social media and streaming, it's so far ahead of all of us in the labels. Like anybody. The floor is up for anybody. Anybody, and that's how your people are winning. Like people are going to labels with leverage as far as like fans and stuff already built just off of internets and TikToks and all that. Um, but yeah, yeah, like it is what it is. Like it's just learning how to adapt, I guess, like
Yeah.
to the ways. Yeah.
Well, so then kind of to wrap it up, my final question is like, what are you working on anything now? What's the next big thing for you? You know.
So, yeah, I do. I got a few things. Like I said earlier in the interview, I do a lot of both. I still make beats, so I still got my channel. So yeah, you can always subscribe to my channel.
Of course,
Because
yeah.
I'm always trying to upload weekly. And then yes, the whole reason why I'm even in the suit is because I'm working on an album. I've been working on a space album. I work at a space museum. So yeah, like I just
Ooh.
been on that frequency, the space frequencies and stuff like that. I met astronauts, all that. I met Bill Nye the Science Guy. I met like yeah. So yeah, like I want to make a space inspired album. And I feel like it's been a while as an artist since I dropped a song. So yeah, that album's called Float On. That's on the way. And then
Okay.
I don't know, yeah, yeah. I don't know if y'all know, I do clothing as well. So History Begins Now. That started
History.
with my
Yeah.
YouTube channel. Yeah, yeah. So I make clothes as well. So yeah, I got that as well. I do it all. So yeah, yeah.
Okay.
That's all I got going so far. Yeah,
Cool. All right. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciated it. And sorry
yeah,
about
yeah.
like the difficulties of getting this set up, but I'm glad
Oh
that we
no,
got to
you're
speak.
good. You're good. Like we've been both running around. I just got back from Atlanta, and that was a whole like
Yeah.
movie. And Lil Yachty was there. You saw me, like so yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
we both living our lives or whatever. But yeah, like this has been dope, and I appreciate like you reaching out and yeah, I'm always down to help you out. I'm not down. I don't know if you do music or whatever. But yeah, I'm here, bro. Like I'm here for you as
Thank you
well.
so much. I really appreciate it. This is great.